Good evening and welcome to My Future. I'm Ruveneko, and tonight's discussion is still around media in Zimbabwe, but we're having a discussion, hopefully a debate of some sort, around formal education versus informal education. I have a panel tonight that has a very diverse background regarding how each of them landed up in their current professions, job descriptions, areas of interest, and really they all have the exact same, like our discussion topic says, informal education versus formal education, but they are all in media some way, somehow. So let me introduce our guest tonight. We have Alexander Gusha. Alexander is better known as Zezuru Rockstar. He's the founder of Zezuru Creatives, and he's a creative consultant. Welcome to the program.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure being here.
Good. I know that you're used to being behind the camera.
Exactly.
So this is very uncomfortable. Or you can relax. Today it is a lot about you and the work that you're doing. I think a lot of people recognize your face as the man who is always behind the camera clicking away. So deep breath.
Okay, I'll breathe to that.
All right. And then we also have Gibson Nikadzino. Gibson is a coordinator of journalism at Xhosa College, and he's been there since March 1st, right, this year.
Yeah.
And you have a big background in media as well, been teaching, particularly in Zimbabwe. So welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good. So you're responsible for churning out all these journalists that we're getting.
Especially those with a passion for journalism.
Right. Focus on broadcast or print?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
And your area of expertise is what?
Print.
Print.
But we try to balance even with new media technologies. We are getting on the train.
Right. Okay, great. And then we also have George Munengwa. George is the marketing director of Pro Air Heating and Air Conditioning, and he's the founder of Pro Air. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you have a marketing background.
That's right.
Which we're going to get into because there's an interesting story around that. So you don't want to miss that. But George, tell us about your understanding of, the relationship between media and marketing.
I believe, especially nowadays, media is playing a very pivotal role in getting awareness of what currently is happening in the market.
Right.
So I believe media is a pivotal tool being used by most corporates and individuals to get their message across.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Simple enough for now. We'll leave it at that. And then last but not least, we have Peter Maringi Sanwa. He is a producer of ARD News, and he's also a filmmaker who makes documentaries too. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And your first diploma degree was in what?
No, after school I went to work in the film industry, but this was the ministry in the film production.
Right.
Then after that I pursued my career. I wanted to go into cinematography. And I went to work with various TV stations. And I did my training there on news gathering.
So I want to open this first question to the panel and say, have we lost our grip on what a media practitioner is? Have we lost control of media and journalism in general? Is it now just for anybody who has a large enough following, who has a good camera, who can, appeal to people in the way they present? Or is it something that might be a profession that could still be there for years after today?
That by saying to me and many people in the industry, it's not that we are losing the grip, but we are actually going on with the times. One economist once called it creative distraction, whereby you are leaving the old for the new. So for the meantime, yes, everyone is more like a journalist, everyone is dishing out information, but the danger is, while people are dishing out information, are they doing it in consideration of the media ethics? Are we promoting the true standard of journalism, or is just someone who is a gadget who wants to pursue news and start churning out news? So I'm saying we are not losing the grip, but we are actually promoting creativity in the industry, in the schools, and in other places.
I don't know if I agree with that, because when you say that it's you said it's the creative
distraction.
Creative distraction. I mean, I don't know. Let me open this up to you before I project my own thoughts.
Distraction.
Distraction or destruction? Because I feel like it is destruction. Because some of this is destructive. Okay, there's no other way of putting it. But let me hear from you.
I'm also confused because destructive is the same, but how can you actually make good out of it? Then it becomes very complicated because most of the time, especially in the news gathering, if someone who is not actually trained goes and film what is happening in town or make an interview, some of the things might be left out, which are of great importance. This is what is happening. Because if you want to do it correctly, it's not being very fast and you distract everything. You have to do it properly and record everything that is there. Because in the film industry, you are the representative of the people who are not there. So you should see what should be seen by other people.
Right.
So which means you should see more than just passing by. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I agree now. Because you look at scenes where there will be somebody burning, somebody even drowning, and before anything, everybody has their cell phones out, capturing a moment, right? That even as human beings, we think we've almost lost a little bit of humanity. Like, who are we really when we capture these moments? I'll come to you, Alex. Your story is interesting as well because of the background, the educational background or lack thereof. But I want to ask you first, when you decided to pick up a camera, was it something you stumbled upon? Was it a passion you never knew you had? How did you start working with your camera?
It's crazy because ever since a young age I was always into entertainment. I thought, well, it was really fun for me. It was a passion, but I wasn't liking what I was seeing on TV. So I used to. We never had DS or multi-choice at our place. So you have these videotapes that you give to your friend and they record, and you watch the whole weekend over and over again the same show. So after that, I started having. I had a music career, a gospel music career, award-winning gospel artist. So after that, I thought, well, I've conquered this. So I thought, well, how can I actually make other people's dreams come true? So I thought, let me project other people's dreams and tell other people's stories.
I like that. We'll come back straight to Alex after the break and find out what his real story is, deciding to make other people's dreams come true. And now he sells us all dreams with the work that he does. And we've now managed to place him as an established photographer. And it'd be interesting to find out exactly how he got there. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to My Future. Our studio this evening is discussing media and particularly informal versus formal education. And on the panel we have Alexander Gusha, better known as the Zuru Rockstar. We also have Gibson Nikadzino, as well as Peter Maringisanwa and George Munenengwa. So we are having an interesting discussion. Just before the break, we were speaking to Alex and finding out about how he got to where he got to. And Alex, your story is such that you dropped out of college. You look at your profile and it says college dropout. Tell us about this.
It was an interesting time in my life, because it was the fact that my mom passed away at an early age, so I had to shift from different families, different households. So different experiences, this aunt, that aunt, how Africans are. I couldn't actually find tuition to actually do my own, so I thought, well, I won't let that hinder me for where I want to go, because at that age already I was sharing stages I was a dancer then, so I was already actively involved in entertainment. So I thought, well, I can pursue this as a career because it's something that I really had passion for.
Right.
So that's how it came about.
So do you think that you needed formal education? Now that you're sitting here, you're doing what you're doing, you have your camera, you have your gear, you're getting clients, you're making money. Do you feel that there was a need for formal education in your life?
What I would say is that if given the opportunity, I actually would have taken formal education.
So if you were given the opportunity, you would have, but you didn't. Now that you're here, you feel like you didn't need it.
I didn't actually need it. I always knew I was going to be it was going to happen. So
Right.
it was, the plan was, there was no plan B, that was just the plan A.
Right.
If I'm not getting the education, I'm just going to make it, whether with or without a degree or whatever.
Right. I like this. I'm going to come to you here now, Gibson. You are a lecturer, okay, coordinating journalism at Xhosa. I'm sure these words are breaking your soul into 1,000 pieces. But I want to ask, because we know that a lot of students that graduate from institutions in Zimbabwe sometimes come out without an adequate skill set, that by the time they leave, they actually are not employable because they haven't had the hands-on experience. Then you've got somebody like Alex who has been self-taught since he was in Form 3, right, to make it into this industry. He pretty much has better experience than somebody who's come out of Xhosa. So how do we justify the formal education that you are still offering?
Formal education, one, it is evidence-based, it is research-based. And secondly, it keeps people within the confines of a syllabus. There is depth maybe from the lecturer and all other things. There's an exchange of ideas. And whereas the other part where people are skilled in media, they are expansive. They are not limited by the syllabus. They try everything to broaden the perspective of media. But now, as an institution or institutions, we are seeing that we have to complement the theoretical framework and the practical framework. So in as much as we are looking at, for example, new media technologies, we have changed our curricula to say students, gone are the days now in the media when people used to say, I beg to apply for a job. People now, they want to see your portfolio. Where is your portfolio?
So you're in essence saying that you respect the journey he's walked, and the two should complement each other.
Definitely.
That there should be the element of theory and the element of practical experience,
That's right.
regardless. Okay, I'll come to you here, George. Similar but different story. As I said before the break, in the first segment, I was saying George's story is also very interesting, where he was at IMM studying marketing, and then you stopped. Why?
Well, what happened, I think that was the early stages, similar to my brother's story, where parents couldn't help me finance.
Right.
And I had to now step out and find a job to then, try and cover my fees.
How far in were you?
This was after my A-levels. I had done 2 modules.
Okay.
I was left with, I think, 5 subjects to complete it.
Right.
Yeah. So because of this lack of finances, I, went on the street, started hustling at Zimex Mall and etc.
Were you a Zimex small boy?
Yeah, I went through Zimex Mall
Wow.
and burning CDs and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So through that kind of exposed me to a different perspective of seeing marketing physically on
I mean,
the
that's
ground.
serious. That's on the streets.
Yeah.
That's another
Yeah.
level, which is probably more daunting than any other kind of marketing, right? Because it's face to face,
It's face-to-face.
hands-on, and you're literally eating whatever you sell, right?
True.
Eat what you kill.
That's right.
Right?
So I got a revelation of some of the things I was taught earlier on in marketing. Then I physically got to experience them and practice them on hand. With the experience that I've had hands-on compared to
Their certificates.
their certificates, their PhDs. If we sit down and do a marketing plan to launch a product, because of the wars that I've fought physically, they understand what's on the textbook,
Right.
but they don't have the practical knowledge
To get it done.
to get it done.
You could
So-
probably employ them now.
True.
In the media industry, another question I'd like to open up and say, is the media industry something that needs this formal education, or is it something that is almost a skill and a talent? I'll come to you here, Peter, and ask you, from hearing the story, you're obviously another generation, right? These are, 2 young men who have described what they've been through. What are your thoughts, as the most senior on this panel, and having walked the journeys through our media industry in Zim?
Yeah, you're right. I come from a generation where people used to use typewriters, and film was actually film, not video. And if you make a mistake, it's a mistake in capital letters. And people were supposed to learn before they touch the film because you were exposed. So without that education, you wouldn't make it. But with the development of the technology and so on, we have actually arrived at a stage whereby the people who were actually trained to do things properly, it doesn't work anymore. Because you type in the computer today, you can actually pick a paragraph and put it somewhere else. That's too fast.
Yeah.
And people are actually producing videos. They don't care the quality of sound. The picture, yes. Because I want to tell you this, especially from the film industry. We are all filmmakers. All of us, from the day we are born, we start filming and recording and editing and keeping the good material in our minds and so on and so on. So everyone is a cameraman. This is what is happening now,
Yeah.
especially in the news and documentaries. You pick your camera, you go and film. But what your eye sees is not exactly what the camera sees. So without the training of how to use the camera to interpret what you are seeing with the naked eye, it gets too complicated if you are not trained.
I think we are definitely getting somewhere in our debate, and in our last segment we're going to hopefully tie in all of these thoughts and come up with some kind of conclusion and see whether formal education versus informal education, which one will come out on top. And from what the panel's saying, we still are questioning, is this new media and the way everybody's now a journalist, is it a creative distraction or is it creative destruction? We'll be right back. Welcome back to My Future. I'm Ruveneko, and our topic this evening is formal education versus informal education regarding the media industry. Before the break, we were hearing from Mr. Maringisano about his thoughts on formal versus informal education, and he was explaining how perhaps those that got educated a long time ago, a lot of their degrees and all that are becoming a bit redundant, outdated, outmoded, diffident, because it's been a long time, and the way that media is growing means that we obviously all need to keep updating our CVs regarding education. And he's almost saying that, you know, we need to be very careful about the direction in which we're going. I'll allow now Gibson to come in just on that point so we can continue.
Adding to what you were saying, my point is, by creative distraction, for example, like I said earlier on, we are saying people are moving from old trends to say, when I'm done at college, I want to go in the newsroom. We actually have students with a passion for journalism who are saying, no, I'm still at college, but all I want is to prove my worth, because to us journalism is more of a practice than a profession. We are breaking traditional thought patterns which have been there to say, well, finish your degree or diploma first, after that you go into the newsroom. People are now creative.
So you're saying it's not a bad thing?
To me, it's not a bad thing.
We must embrace it.
Yeah, we must embrace it,
Right.
and because things are changing.
But how do you control it? How do you check someone's credentials? Just like what we were saying, when we were formally educated, we are taught about media ethics. We're taught about so many things that make sure that whatever we report is ethical and is right and is correct and is factual and is true. But if we embrace this new wave of journalism and media that is now coming out, what are we saying then for getting real information? How do you know who's telling you the truth? How do you know who's qualified?
From an educational perspective, we are saying people want to venture into journalism. Yes, they have the curricula, like I said. They know what's ethical, they know what's not ethical. And in as much as people are dishing out news nowadays, all we are saying is what you issue or what you give to the market determines your quality. It's all about quality and ethics too. So if you write or you do things which are not professional along the lines, you would be discarded, because the industry itself, it is more like competitive. People want quality news which are based on facts, which is objectivity and truthfulness.
We might agree to disagree, agreeably, but it would be good to hear some final points. So I'll come to you here, Alex.
Personally, I think I would love to disagree with the fact that qualifications actually mirror and actually I believe they do create a basis for a foundation for you as a media practitioner. But what I don't like is having someone who really wanted to be a nurse, and just because of their qualifications, and it was probably the easiest program to actually pick. They picked journalism or media, and they don't have a passion for that. And then they actually put out content that's not really thought-provoking.
One of the things I see, especially with our education currently, I'll take for instance for me what I studied. The things that people are being taught when it comes to relevance, especially in the day and era we're living in, is becoming obsolete. I'll take for instance for you and where you studied, some of the things that you learned back at university, if you look at the modern day things right now, some of them are totally irrelevant. But some of the things that you've gone on YouTube and researched on and seen how to present and see how to do certain things that you were never taught at school is what sets you apart from the ordinary presenter compared to what you're being taught at school.
Sure.
So I think when we're talking about self-education compared to the professional guys who are educated, I think self-education plays a major role. I think me and my brother have spent a lot of time researching on the latest trends, what's happening, how to, be the best journalist, how to, take photos the proper way and everything else. The more time you spend on self-edification, that's what actually makes you different compared to somebody who went to 10 years of university, graduate, masters and something, but in terms of them getting to actually put things compared to somebody who just self-taught themselves. I think that's the difference there.
I just want to make it clear that the thoughts represented by Alex and George are not the thoughts of my future, neither they're the thoughts of Ruben. All right, I just wanted to say, very, very enlightening, actually, and interesting, because can I then just put a suggestion on the table and say what you're saying? In fact, the both of you are saying that one can self-educate and self-teach and all of that. Should we not still say that there's nothing wrong in having the backbone of a formal education, but then continue to self-edify and improve oneself outside of the
I think
formal
on
setting?
that, personally for me, the IMM I never finished. I'm actually in the process of finishing it. Right?
Because you still feel you need it.
I still do need it.
Right.
But I'm not saying no to education. I'm actually furthering my education.
Okay.
But there's certain aspects with today's day and era, things that are happening. You still need to self-educate yourself and not just stick to what's on the book. So I think it's important. I'm not saying education is bad. I'm actually going to school as I speak. So I'm furthering my education.
Okay.
It's not good to do something halfway.
One way.
Yeah. So
Right. What do you think?
Well, it depends, but because of the economic situation we are in, the whole world actually, we are looking at survival skills. But the argument, I don't think it is based on education and what you are doing. This is how it works. It's not an argument, but it's like working together. When you run short of something, you will need this other person who knows a little bit more from this other angle. Yes, some people are going the clockwise and some are going anti-clockwise. And then we are going to the same point, the starting point. That's where we will end up, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter how you are going, but there are some guidelines that should be followed. It's like the book, the exercise book. You write, there's a margin there. You have to start somewhere and end somewhere. You don't just write everywhere. So we need that kind of guidance. You have to be educated a little bit, or otherwise you won't be able to put the things together. It is very important, but for an argument's sake, so that we can confuse ourselves. Education is more important than what you are doing. No, it's wrong. Because you can be very educated, but you don't have the passion
Or the ability to just
or
apply
the
yourself.
ability to do it.
Yeah.
So you cannot actually make an argument out of these two. They complement each other sometimes in a very advanced way.
Yeah.
So I think he is doing the right thing, but we have to keep also consulting other people. He said something, he wants to actually excel with his education.
So
Well,
you
you are
would go
still
back to
doing the
school?
same
I
thing.
would actually. I would want to study. I would want to study a lot of media and script writing, because I want to tell profound stories to the world.
Would you do that locally?
I would do that locally. I'm very proud of Zimbabwe, and I would really do that
You
locally.
don't have
That
to say that because
doesn't
you're on
sound
TV.
like
you
really-
do not have to
like
say that.
really
There's no
patriotic.
to impress everybody.
I'll actually do that. I'll do that locally because I feel comfortable. I like traveling a lot, but I feel better at home. That's where it is.
Is he not too advanced for some of the programs that you offer? I say advanced regarding his experience, because we did at the beginning try and talk about that. Kuti, what you offer students practically regarding experiences, there's so many gaps. So is he not way too advanced for programs locally?
Repetition is the mother of skill. Maybe he's had 7 years, and there's a novice who is starting journalism today. They just came from high school last year. They are starting today. Obviously, he has an advantage. But all I'm saying is, within the market, within the industry itself, we're also keeping our ears to the ground to say what are the changes happening? How can we try to match what we have today and what's happening in the industry? So in as much as people are experienced, yes, we value that experience, but all we are saying is there is a right for you somewhere in the community where if you do not have the prerequisite, the papers, you won't be able to get those rights.
I think that's a safe conclusion there, that the two do work together. None can be completely divorced or independent of the other. And unfortunately, on that note, we're going to have to wrap up because we are completely out of time. Thank you very much to our panel tonight, Gibson Nyikadzino, Alexander Gusha, George Munengwa, and Peter Maringisanwa. Thank you very much. That's it from me on My Future Tonight. I'm Ruveneko. Good night for now. Be good. And if you can't be good, be safe.